What we need is reliable baseload. And like I said, we are blessed with coal, and we have to burn coal with clean coal technologies so that we impact the environment minimum, but we end up like having reliable power, which means reliable power for hospitals, households and industries.
How do we move to a situation where we have this new technology, or the technology that can help us when using coal, but at the same time we are able to reduce carbon emissions?
Yeah, look, China is a very good example for this. If you look at what happened in China 2021, they realized that they're short of power, and they invested heavily more on coal because as a manufacturing giant of the world, they need reliable and cheap power, and they invested in coal heavily. But with the new coal-fired power stations, they bring the clean coal technologies that deals with the chimney gases. So the technology is available. Technology is there. We can use it as a country. It's widely available, and current boilers or current energy power stations in the country, we can apply this new technology or this technology that has been used for a while to minimize our pollution, our emissions to the atmosphere. So it can be done. We have the skills, and we have also private sector quite interested in investing in these technologies, because it's easier and quicker than developing a new power station that will give us power. I mean, to build a new, let's say, Kusile can take another 5 years for private sector. But putting clean coal technologies in Hendrina or Arnott or Camden or Grootvlei or Kriel is going to take a year or maximum a year and a half. Then your power station is going to be emitting less bad gases.
What's your contribution in terms of reducing carbon emissions?
In our operations, in our coal mining operations like Kanye, Kangra, Zak, Palandwa, what we do is we have a coal processing plant in every mine. So that means like we wash the raw coal and we reduce the ash, we reduce the sulfur. That means that when it's used, that will then emit less sulfur related gases and less ash and less slag. So we wash the coal and make it clean coal, so that when it's burnt in a more clean manner. And in some of the plants in our operations, we also have carbon reduction technologies, so that we minimize our carbon emissions in the mines when we are using the processing plants. And also we have projects that we would like to power the mines in terms of processing and in terms of offices and all the activities that needs power with solar capacity during the day, obviously. And we would like to implement it in the next, say, 24 months. All the mines will be then having power from solar panels during the day. And we also a member of Better Coal, which is an international association that goes and checks the companies to make sure that they comply with the environmental impacts, and then they also comply with socioeconomic things like working with the communities in the right manner and employing the people and giving the right benefits to the companies. So we try our best in terms of minimizing our carbon footprint, but main carbon footprint is actually created by the coal-fired power stations. We can only supply them clean coal. They have to apply clean coal technologies to reduce the emissions. When you build a power station, it's coal or gas or nuclear, it doesn't matter, you are impacting the environment. So there's an impact. So you have to get the maximum out of it. I'm not saying optimum, you have to get the maximum out of it, because if you go and build similar sized power station, you're going to have another impact in the environment. Komati Power Station was refurbished in 2010. So it was closed in 2022. It was 12 years old when it was closed, which is a mistake. If you look at Calvin Power Station, which is in Kempton Park, it is 67 years old. It's still producing power, and it's providing 10 to 14% of Johannesburg's power. Same applies to the power stations that Eskom was planning to close. Now it's changed. luckily. It was Arnott, Camden, Hendrina and Grootvlei. These power stations are old, but they were refurbished at some point. And if they haven't been refurbished, they can be refurbished. So we need to use existing power fleet to get the best out of it, to get the maximum out of it. So I think closing Komati was a mistake, because Komati was 1,000 megawatts. Now, if you think about it, Car Power Ships is trying to supply power to South Africa on floating vessels. That's 1,200 megawatt, and that's linked to gas, which means our power is going to be dollarized, which is very dangerous for any economy. So if you look at what we need, we should not close any power stations, and you should look at wherever we can get power at the right price, we should procure power.
How important is maintenance of these power stations?
I think there are two different things. Maintenance is like you need to maintain the power stations like day to day, week to week, monthly and annually. But when a power station comes to a certain age, let's say boiler, when it becomes 10 years old, then you need to overhaul the boiler. So you need to refurbish it. Or when your electrical equipment, maybe the life of the electrical equipment is 5 years, then when 5 years is expired, then you need to refurbish it. So refurbishment and maintenance come together. But this fleet that we have in South Africa, which is 50,000 megawatt, we have to use it at its maximum levels, and we have to continuously maintain and refurbish them. And on top of that, what we need to do is we need to look at green energy options like solar panels, which is great for households like I said earlier. But our solution for load shedding and for the long run to make sure that this country is decarbonized is linked to burning more fossil fuels in a cleaner manner.
Are there still countries that are interested in importing coal from South Africa?
Obviously, India is our biggest customer, because after China, India is heavily investing in coal-fired power capacity, again creating an industrial country, industrial economy. You need to have reliable power, and coal is reliable, abundant, it's available. If you got a problem like India, Australia had a problem with China, or China had a problem with Australia, they stopped buying from Australia, they came to us. They can go to Colombia, they can go to Indonesia, they can go to Russia. But whereas in gas, for instance, it's limited, and you rely on certain countries, and it becomes very political.
Can South Africa resolve the problem of electricity?
I think we have a very interesting model, because we have Department of Public Enterprises that is controlling Eskom. We got Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and now we got the Department of Electricity, which has got a very active minister. I think his kind of energy brought some energy to the business, and because we went from stage 7, stage 8 to stage 2, 3, which is a great improvement. But I see like what he's talking now about, like investing in transmission lines to bring this renewable energy capacity into the grid. That's not going to solve load shedding. Somebody has to tell him that, Minister, that is not going to solve the load shedding. Load shedding is going to be solved with what he's doing, making sure that electricity availability factors of the power stations are high, which can be done with maintenance of those power stations, plus if necessary, refurbishment of those power stations. So our solution is to look after coal-fired power fleet so that we have reliable power into the system.
Do you think if we have one minister dealing with all this, it would be better?
I agree. I 100% think like that, because there are 3 ministers, they need to make decisions. I think Minister of Electricity has got almost no power. He's trying his best, but DMRE is making policies, DP is applying policies, and look at Eskom. We don't have a CEO for the last 9 months. Why? Can you believe, like, if a private company doesn't have a CEO for 9 months? So, and then we had a chairman, now we don't have a chairman of Eskom anymore. So we've got an acting CEO, and we can't operate like this. We need to have a CEO which is hardworking, and he knows the game. He's got a generation guy. Because if you look at the power, the people who run power stations in the world, look at the European utilities. They normally have got financial guys. Why? Because they're in a very healthy position in terms of their finances. They are there to count the money. In South Africa, we got generation issue. So we need a person who understands generation and who's got leadership skills. So you can't just put any engineer without leadership skills, then you're going to be back to square one. And these appointments should not be political. It should be based on qualifications. We need a strong generation person with leadership skills to fix Eskom.